And thank you for joining in this video that is designed to help you communicate something serious while having fun. My name is Pablo, and this is a game that we have designed with the team at GIZ to help people experience and engage in the difficult decisions that we confront when dealing with investments, when dealing with risk, when dealing with prevention against future threats, and when dealing with the consequences of the things that you cannot stop. This is a game about prevention and insurance, and in this game you're going to become an investor. You're in a small island, you can build hotels, you're trying to attract tourists, make money, prosper, and if you prosper, congratulations, you may do very well, you can even win the game, or maybe you take too much risk and maybe things go wrong.
Oh no!
Maybe shocks will smack you. In this game, players are going to experience risk. So your job as a facilitator will be to walk a delicate balance between being instructional to help them learn the rules, do the right thing at the right time, while also being rigorous. You want to ensure that people don't take too much time for discussing, for making decisions and so on, but also, very importantly, you need to add a spirit of fun into this experience. You need to help people have a good, memorable, enjoyable time so that this becomes an appetizer. It awakens the desire to learn more about what GIZ and partners are offering, which is to understand insurance in the context of risk and prevention and integrated climate risk management. What you're going to do is to help people have a good time while learning and discussing what matters. This is a game about investments, protection, and insurance. Imagine any human being who's invited to learn about insurance through a PowerPoint, through a document. What's the default reaction? Yeah? Insurance somehow has earned a reputation of being boring, even if it could be sometimes useful or necessary. So, welcome to this game. Your team, your island is your table. Look around you. I wish you good luck. Those people are the ones you're stuck with for about a decade. In this game, we will have the planet, and we will compress a decade or so in an hour. I will be the Supreme Court of Justice of this room, and my decisions cannot be appealed. In this game, there will be teams. Each team will be at a table, and they will have their island nation, which lives from tourism, and there will be one player who is government, who helps implement the rules. There's going to be 4 players, each one in charge of a district. The North District, the South District, the East District, and the West District. If you have more players, you can also have the role of journalist. Someone who observes, who interviews, who takes note of interesting things that are being said, of conflicts, of tensions, of confusions, of fury, of desires, of aspirations. We want through this game to nurture the appetite of players so that when the game ends, it's the beginning of the real learning, the deeper dialogue, the exploration on what can be done to help people, communities, countries, global organizations to better understand integrated climate risk management. First of all, the game is not reality. Reality is complex. We cannot capture everything in an hour. So through this game, we're going to simplify many things that are important about the real world, and we're going to exaggerate or amplify the relevance of others so that we can go deeper into what is the goal of this session.
Throughout this game, each player will make individual decisions which will have collective consequences. 4 players per team, 4 players per table, there will be district managers who are trying to invest in hotels, and they will have these little tokens, these little assets. Each one of these will represent $1 million. And you start with 12. You start with a lot, but things cost money. If you want to make money, you need to invest money, and I wish you good luck because things can go wrong, unless they go well, which is what you hope.
Throughout the game, you will earn or lose tokens. You cannot share. This is very important. If he really needs your help, and he cries, and he's married to your sister, doesn't matter. You cannot give him tokens, okay? There is in this game, otherwise you disrupt the balance that helps learn.
In this game, we're going to compress the entire planet in one room, multiple countries, multiple tables. We're also going to compress time. Each round will represent a year, and we will have several years that will enable people to notice the long-term consequences of their present decisions. There will be winners and losers. This is a crisis, and it will be used on the table to show any district that has gone through bankruptcy. When you as a player cannot keep running your hotel because you run out of money or because everything was destroyed and you cannot fix it, you get bankruptcy, that's bad.
If you go bankrupt, you're a loser, obviously. You physically stand up, leave your district, start roaming the world looking for a job, and one of the other people who are sitting outside will become the new district manager.
Among the players who are in charge of districts, the winning player will be the one who has built the most hotels. If there is a tie, the one that has the most resources in his or her possession is the winner. Each one of these objects represents a hotel. What matters to you at the end of the game is how many of these you have. The more you have, the better you performed. If you have more than everybody else, you are the winner. The winning team, the winning table, will be the one that has the fewest bankruptcies. If there's a tie, the island, the team with the most hotels built, will be the winner.
Journalists, we want to hear your headlines.
Insurance is for pessimists. And secondly, I'm gambling, let the loan sharks come.
The winning journalist will be the one who writes or communicates the best headline, the best synthesis of what has happened that matters, that captures the attention of the room. Building a hotel has a cost, and some are cheaper than others. Now, once you have built a hotel, you cannot change it, you cannot turn a triangle into a pentagon. A triangle will always be a triangle. Now, sometimes a hotel can be damaged, in which case it flips, and there is a cost to rebuilding. In this table, you can see the values for building a new hotel and for rebuilding, for fixing something, if the building was broken by a hurricane. As early as you can in the session, you're going to ask players, to ask the participants in charge of districts to make an investment, to buy a hotel building. You will not give them a choice of who does what. District in the north will build a hotel with 2 walls, and you will give them the instruction, north, take one of these hotels with 2 walls, pay as much as is needed, do it soon, do it before the deadline. Other players, a triangle, a square, a pentagon, pay for it before the deadline, and you as facilitator will run the deadline.
And you have 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop and silence. And when I say silence, I beg you for the silence so that I can move on to explaining the new round of complexity.
Stop means the bank is closed. No more time for transactions. If you bought it, you bought it. If you didn't, you don't have it. It is to your advantage as a facilitator to make sure that there is time pressure, that there is nervousness, that there are consequences to bad decisions or to no decisions. Players in charge of districts will command two kinds of assets. One, as we mentioned, is the hotel buildings, which need to fit into their land. They cannot build more than can be accommodated in the map of their district. And the other type of asset they control is the things that are movable, that involve money, labor, computer and other equipment, all the things that are needed to run a tourism operation. Throughout the game, there will be a cycle, an annual cycle that is based on the seasons of touristic nations. There will be a time for tourists to make bookings, to make reservations, and that is largely outside of your control as a player, as a district player. Then after that, there will be a time when nature sends you, rain or not, too much wind or not, also outside of your control. Then there will be a third season of consequences. A season where if there was a storm, maybe it caused some distraction or maybe not. If you did well in your season with your bookings, with your reservations, maybe you will make a lot of money. And then the fourth season in this annual cycle will be the time of investment, the time before the deadline where you can use your assets to buy buildings and other things that can help you prosper or be protected. Now you're going to ask players to experience what happens during the booking season. You're going to ask them to take all their tokens, all their movable assets, put them in their hands, shake them well, shake them well.
All of them, whether you have 2 or 10, and then very close to the surface of the table, let go. And don't change them. Don't touch them. Just look at them.
When each player lets the tokens, lets the movable assets go, different things can happen. One option is that almost all of the tokens fall blank except for one that shows the color. If this happens, only one asset shows the color. In that case, it's an okay season. It wasn't too good, it wasn't too bad. Basically, nothing happens. You didn't make too much money, you didn't make too little money. Things continue as before. You don't gain, you don't lose. If upon shaking, all of the assets show their blank side, that means that the booking season was bad.
Oh no!
That means that there wasn't enough tourism to cover the expenses of the season. And when that happens, guess what? Your finances are in trouble.
It's very unfortunate, but that's what he got. You please stand up and say, "Oh no!" Please do it.
Oh no!
And wait. You cannot sit until you have lost one asset to pay for your commitments. You have contracts with workers, you have the website, you have the taxes. Take one of those, put it in the plate. Only after that you can sit.
The district has to sell, let go of one of the assets.
Importantly, I would expect you to please help me do this stand up and shout "oh no," because as a facilitator, I need to read the room. I need to know where the action is. So even though you're not proud of this unsuccessful situation, which is outside of your control, it is what happens. Thank you very much.
If you shake and roll, and the result is that there's more than one that is showing the color, good news, you got a good season. The player who got a good season can show the thumbs up because for each hotel that is built and functioning in the district, they will gain one more. For every hotel, gain $1 million. That's a way to prosper. sooner or later, one of the players or more will need money that they don't have. For that, in the game, we will offer the presence of a company called FinLoans Inc., which offers emergency loans. For that purpose, one of the participants, a friend of the facilitator, will take on the role of the financial sector who takes advantage of those in need.
So, like in the real world, if you want to borrow money in a situation of distress, we don't have normal loans in this game. Only when you need them because you can't afford to do what you need to do, you can go to FinLoans Inc.
There's only one choice. 5 tokens is the credit, 5 tokens is the loan, which then has to be repaid, totaling $10 million in repayment. You borrow 5, you repay 10. That's bad, that's inconvenient, but it may be your only choice if you want to stay in business longer.
And if you cannot repay, guess what? The creditor takes possession of all your land and all your hotels. You physically stand up and leave, and he designates who else comes in, maybe with some tokens, to keep going. Is it clear? I wish you to never need FinLoans Inc.
You can, as a facilitator, instill drama in that moment, because like in the real world, we want people in this game to experience the bad moment as something that is certainly not desirable. In the first practice round, players have a chance to shake, roll, see what happens, win or lose tokens. In the next round, we're going to bring in nature. We're going to show what happens every season when the storms come to each island. Any given year, a storm will come. There will be one strongest storm per year, which will come possibly from the east, possibly from the southwest, possibly from some other direction. How can we tell where it comes from? With a special object. At each table, there will be one of these special dice. It has 8 sides: north, south, east, west, northwest, southeast, and so on. All 8 directions from which a storm can come and hit the island. So each year, one of the players will take the die and roll it, and such roll will determine where the strongest storm comes from. Now, this storm may be a hurricane or not. And if it's a hurricane, how strong will it be? For that, we will use another die. It looks more like a conventional die. So when shaking and rolling this, it could be not even a hurricane, just a normal little storm. Or maybe it's a category 1, doesn't do much damage. Maybe it's a category 5, the strongest hurricane the island has ever experienced. Or maybe something in between. So first, each table will roll where it comes from, and then it will roll how strong the hurricane is. If the hurricane hits your side of the island, you're on the east, and it comes from the east, you may be in trouble. The same is true if it comes from the southeast or from the northeast. A hurricane coming diagonally can affect the 2 coasts affected by that storm. Now you may wonder, will a hotel be damaged? Well, that depends on how strong the hurricane is and how strong the hotel is. If you build a square in your district, it can resist a hurricane category 4 or smaller. The hotel is strong enough unless the hurricane is too strong. If a category 5 happens, any hotel that is smaller than a pentagon is damaged. It is going to be flipped and it is going to be closed. It is not going to be in business until you spend the money required for repairing it and bringing it back If a hurricane happens that is so strong as to damage all of your buildings, not only your buildings are damaged, but also your workers could be hurt, your computers may be damaged, your cash may be lost. Your movable assets are at risk if all your hotels in the district are destroyed and damaged by a storm. Of these tokens you have, all except for one will be lost to the storm. You would be left with only one, and that's bad.
If the storm comes from the northeast, would you like to do something to protect from storms that may come from the northeast? Would you like to build a wall that stops that hurricane?
Would you like to be able to protect your buildings from an incoming storm? Well, sometimes you can build barriers to slow down the force of the incoming coastal threat. In this game, you can do so by building barriers. One of these barriers can slow down the force of that storm. How does it do so? It reduces the magnitude of the event by 1. A category 5 hits the buildings as if it were a category 4 if the barrier is built in the right place.
If you want that one, you will see it costs 2, and it's your individual district that can buy it or not. There's another thing you can do. Let's imagine, like was the case now, the hurricane is coming. The scientists know it's coming. They know the force and they know the chances of what magnitude. If you have valuable assets like people, like laptops, what can you do? Take them to high ground. It's guaranteed that if you move them to the top of the hill, they will be safe from the coastal surge. But that requires an early warning system.
Do you think that players at the district level would like to see a hurricane as it approaches? Well, in this game, that can be done with an early warning system. A bell that can be purchased collectively by the entire island. And if the entire island pays the price, the toll goes on the center, and it shows that before any storm comes, all assets that are movable can be taken to a safe place, to the top of the hill, to the strongest building high on the ground. So no movable assets, no tokens are lost if the buildings of a district are destroyed. An early warning system can save assets, but it has a cost.
The early warning costs 6, doesn't matter where it comes from, could be all money from you, or 1 by some and 2 by others, whatever combination you want.
At this stage, you will invite players within their team to have a conversation. Would they like, as a team, to invest in an early warning system that protects the entire island, or do they prefer to invest individually for their district in the barrier, or do they want to use all their money in buying hotels? So what you're going to do is to offer not enough early warning systems for all the islands. If you have 5 tables, you may say that there's only 3 available. They have that conversation, they put their tokens in someone's hand, and they have to come next to you before the deadline. So now the players have learned that at the end of the cycle, when it comes the season of investment, they can invest their money in very strong hotels. They can invest their money in not so strong hotels that are cheaper, that allow them to build more and make more money if there are no disasters. And they can also build protective barriers or early warning systems which help them prepare for and prevent the threat of things going bad.
Now we're going to add the last layer of complexity, not surprisingly, insurance.
We have gone through the motions, first learning the booking season, then learning the hurricane, then learning the protective investments. Now comes the time to explain what is at the core of this effort by GIZ, which is insurance. Insurance cannot stop the loss from happening, but it can provide the financial resources to those affected by a disaster to be able to get the money they need to rebuild, to start anew, and to stay in business and to do more. If you paid for protection in the form of insurance and the category 5 happens, you get a payout. You get a payout of 10 tokens, a payout of $10 million, independent of how much damage happened. This is what we refer in the business as index insurance, where the payout is not based on the loss, it's based on the event that can be related to the loss. If the hurricane is category 4 and you have paid the premium, the payout will be 3 tokens or $3 million, which may be just enough to rebuild something and to try to stay strong.
In this island, someone bought insurance, they got a category 5, but it came from the other end of the island. So of course the insurance doesn't pay. It pays when you, and so what do you think people are telling him about having spent that money for insurance? Some people are laughing at them, and some people are like, well, it was a good decision just in case. It depends on your risk appetite.
Every year, if they want insurance, they have to pay for it, as opposed to the barrier or the early warning system, which can stay throughout the game once it has been invested. We're almost done with the entire set of rules. Remember the sequencing. At the beginning, it is the time to shake assets and see how many reservations are made. If you have no tokens at your district, guess what? You go bankrupt. You are guaranteed to not have any tourists. So that's probably a good time to ask for a loan. First step, shake it and roll it. Second step, see where the strongest storm comes from and how strong it is. Third stage, see the results. Do you win money? Do you lose money? Fourth stage, use the assets, the tokens, the movable assets you have to make investments, whether it's in more hotels or in protection, such as early warning systems or barriers. And with that, the rules have been explained. People can play. You will invite the journalists to notice, to fill their forms, to write their headlines. And as a facilitator, you will need to practice this activity at least once, preferably more, with a safe audience. Your family, your friends, your nephews, your interns. Make sure you try it once with a safe audience before you play it with the audience that matters. As an experienced game facilitator, I can promise you that you will be surprised. I can guarantee you that the behavior that emerges in the tables will not make much sense at times because people may not understand how you explain the rules. They may think you're going too fast or too slow, or sometimes too fast and sometimes too slow. You need to become familiar with the flow, and you as a facilitator need to create flow. You need to help people feel the rhythm It's time to see how many tourists. It's time to see where the storm comes from. It's time to make money or lose money. It's time to invest in building or rebuilding, in protecting, in getting loans. And then we're going to have a time for debrief, for conversation. Look at the rules, at the document, where we explain a proposed approach for enabling conversation in small groups with people that are different from the table level. So people with different experiences of big disasters, small disasters, good luck, bad luck, much money, not much money. What is the range of possibilities? What is the space of possible outcomes? And how is it that we make decisions about investments, about protection, and about insurance? You can help people get it. You want to notice that aha moment where something is discovered by the players. To the extent possible, remember that the reason for this game is insurance. This is the most complex element of the risk management portfolio of choices, which GIZ wants people to investigate in the context of other choices, especially protection. Thank you very much for your time. Wishing you all the best in your endeavors with this game and beyond. Thank you very much.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop!